Everything's a frequency. Every thought you have is a frequency, and the kind of thought, the nature of the thought, the intent behind the thought dictates the frequency. Hate, fear, depression, very low, dense frequencies. They feel heavy because their energetic field is in a state of vibrational density because of their perceptions that are generating that vibrational density. And then you see people in states of love and joy. So when you're feeling states of joy and love and happiness, what do you say? You say, oh, I feel so light today. Why? Because your energetic frequency is vibrating your field to a much less dense state. So you feel light. So again, how do we awaken? Well, for me, it's about self-identity. How you see yourself dictates how you experience yourself. So back again, if you think you're little me and have no power, you'll live a life of little me and have no power, not because you're little me and have no power, but because you believe you are. And therefore you create that reality. Your perceptions become your experience. Nothing ever happens to me. And it never will, while you believe that nothing ever happens to you. It's a feedback loop, which the cult wants to perpetuate. And to do it, if you want people in the five senses, because that's how you can control them. In fact, it's the only way you can control them, really, to control that level. Then you want them to identify the I with the five senses. So you give them labels, things like man, woman, black, white. You give them labels, and you tell them and encourage them to self-identify with those labels. The labels of the five senses, what I call phantom self. And when the I perceives itself only as the five senses in the realm of the five senses, which is what? Severe limitation or perception of it, then by self-identifying the I with the five senses, people become the five senses, becomes the totality of their perception of self. And therefore they operate in a tiny, narrow band of frequency, of possibility, of potential. But if you say, hold on, these labels of human society are not me, they're not the I, the true I, the infinite I. They are simply experiences that the infinite I, consciousness, is having. Then there's a massive change goes on in your perception of self and your perception of everything. And by the way, before I just mention that further, look at what the woke mentality is doing, which is funded and is being created by the cult and the billionaires that fund it. They are subdividing and subdividing even the old labels of human. The cult is made up of secret societies, like I said earlier, because it wants to keep secrets from the population. But if the population knew them, that would lose its power. Because that cult is the one-eyed man in the kingdom of the blind. It's not all powerful, it's pathetic. Yeah? It's the village idiot. Can only control humanity by putting humanity in a smaller box than it's in, and it's in a small enough one. Bunch of prats. They can only keep us under control by keeping us in a five-sense prison that's smaller than the one they live in. In the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And when humans become the two-eyed, third-eyed, what humans should be, the crash of the cult will be heard on Mars. And it's coming. We're going to have some challenges. It's going to throw everything at us in the next few months and years that follow. But when humanity remembers its true nature, the house of cards doth fall, which is why it wants to keep our true nature from us. So as you self-identify with being not your labels, they're experiences, right? Brief experiences. I mean, the human life, gone. The body has a cycle. We have eternity. As you open your consciousness and you re-self-identify, your labels are your experiences. You are the consciousness. Potentially, it's only a matter of how much you want to allow in. Potentially, all consciousness. And as your self-identity expands, so by definition, you expand into greater and greater swathes of consciousness, greater and greater swathes of possibility and potential. Which is why when people go through this awakening process, they start to notice synchronicity in their life. Their lives start to become peppered with, what's the chances of that? Fancy seeing you here. It wasn't happening before. But before, you were in the 5 sense prison cell, interacting with a desperately narrow band of potential and possibility. Now, as you expand into greater and greater levels of possibility and potential, more possibility and potential comes into your life experience. And we experience this as, God, what's the chances of that, mate? I thought I was in trouble and something came along just at the right time. This is our true state. And the Icke cult has to keep that from us, or it's over for those people. And they can piss off and leave us alone. Of course, they won't be able to operate on a level of frequency that awakened humanity will be generating. And what's another key to awakening? It's opening this. The heart vortex that connects us to out there. It's the heart. It's here that the true I resides during a human experience. And if you close the heart, you close off connection with the true I. And when you do that, only 5 sense reality exists in your perceptions. So what Icke and the cult wants is to close hearts with fear and low vibrational emotion, and to put people in the head and in the belly emotion. So if you look at how most humans interact with reality, interact with life, it's through the head, mental processes, and it's through the belly, emotion. How many do it through the heart? But when you do, everything changes. And one of the things that the heart has, from which of course we express what we call love in its widest sense, in its infinite sense. Once you open to love through the heart love does not possess something that is the absolute bottom line weapon of the cult and Icke. Fear. So when you open your heart, the heart doesn't go through a list of consequences for doing what it knows to be right. It just does what it knows to be right. This is what awakening means. It doesn't mean just awakening to see. It means awakening to do what you know to be right. And what we know to be right is not to cooperate with fascism and not to cooperate with the demons that have taken over human society. What is right is to remove them from control of human society. And that's the task that now faces the awakening. We came here to do this, so let's bloody get on with it.